Some guys really like Batman, and they had an epiphany. So they all got to work on the next Batman movie. And now they are the heroes, and you get to follow along. They're bringing him to life every week after this song. Batman, Project Batman, Project Batman. Fuck yeah.
Man, you may not have a back to your toilet, but at least you have soap in your bathroom. You ever go to like someone's house and like it's immaculately clean, but then you go in the bathroom and there's no soap? I hate that.
Sean, has that ever happened to you? There's no soap in a bathroom? There's no soap in his bathroom.
Yeah, but his place is immaculately clean. So I wasn't even talking about him.
Okay, so never mind. But that one time I went in there and there wasn't soap. It happened.
There's soap now.
I was mad.
But you can't be as upset as like when, no offense, Sean, when you walk into like Sean's place and there's like clutter there and then there's not soap in the bathroom. It's not really as much as a surprise as when like, I don't know, things are spick and span. And then you like, oh man, this is the cleanest place ever. And then you use the bathroom and you realize nobody has ever washed their hands here. It's the dirtiest place ever.
They used all the soap cleaning the place.
All the hand soap.
All the hand
That's how I like to clean. I like to get a bottle of hand soap
and pour it in a bucket of water.
No. I walk around my house and just squirt. I
do that too.
And then I'll follow. And then I follow the trail and scrub it up.
I don't do that.
Me neither.
It would have been like if you did that, right?
Oh yeah.
Listeners, did you know that using a VCR/DVD player as support will result in better picture drawing?
Yeah, he just grabbed the fucking DVD player off of my shelf and started using it as like a backboard for his drawing. He's currently working on storyboards, which definitely you will see next week.
Definitely.
As they are unveiled.
Yeah.
Because next week is our 6 months.
Yeah, boy.
Fuck yeah.
Speaking of which, wait, tell them what we just did and why.
Okay, so before we started recording today, we spent about, between half an hour and 45 minutes putting together this. And this is where Ken inserts the thing. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I did that. All by myself. I engineered that alone.
Now, as Ken takes all the credit for that.
Just kidding, that was Otto's beautiful singing voice.
Yeah.
It would have sounded like a cat in a trash compactor if that were me.
I don't know, you sang the theme song for this, and that worked pretty well.
Dude, it annoys me so much. I hate it so much. By the way, any listener out there, I still have the rough track on GarageBand on my iPad. If you have a better voice than me, if you want to sing the intro in time and then send it to me, I will totally replace my voice. Mine's a placeholder because I couldn't find anyone else to sing it. I feel like that might be deterring a lot of our listeners. Like, they download our show and then they hear the first 10 seconds, they're like, oh, I cannot put up with this. I gotta listen to this for an hour and a half.
But anyway, so what you just listened to was me singing in the stairway in my house, which is nice and echoey. Plus, we added some more echo in the computer. Ken did all the editing.
Yeah, you mean in your bat cave?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we sang it in the bat cave.
No,
But-
your bat cave.
In my
Yeah,
bat
it wasn't
cave.
ours.
But
We can hang in my bat cave later, though, if you want. Once you get sick of your bat cave. All right, go on.
yeah, can we make a pit stop and try and get Anne Hathaway's bat cave?
I would love to visit her cat's cradle.
Anyway, so basically, what that was it was me singing a couple of different parts, which were then layered and echoed and reverbed to create a fairly passable choir. Now, of course, this was something we did in 45 minutes. If we are to, and we probably are, but if we are to use it, a method like that for the final soundtrack as opposed to synthesizing a choir, of course, we'll do a little more tweaking, but that was all improvised. That was just me like humming off the top of my head the Batman theme and sort of adding more parts to it as I went along. Now, what's really interesting is that you'll notice that there are lyrics. The lyrics are complete and utter fucking gibberish. Now,
just like every opera in the world.
now see, because I came up with this idea because I was singing in my car absentmindedly like last week before, and the result was, you know what, that sounds half decent, just sort of gibberishing the opera, because I had been listening to the Mask of the Phantasm soundtrack, and, I would hear that they, were enunciating some sort of language, and I had guessed that it was like Latin or something like that. And so it was, but I figured, well, I don't need to sit there and write lyrics in Latin. I can pretty much just sing gibberish, and it will end up sounding the same, because no one's going to sit there and take the time to fucking translate all that out.
We're going to credit it as the Ottobre Tabernacle Choir.
That's great.
I love it.
Okay. But, so then I decided, just for the fuck of it, to look up what the lyrics were to the theme for Mask of the Phantasm. The result was hilarious. Because, having thought of this on my own, I was like, okay, gibberish, right? That's exactly what the Mask of the Phantasm lyrics are. What the Mask of the Phantasm lyrics were, Shirley Walker, when she was writing them, she had like a week to get all the choir recorded, and she didn't have any lyrics written. So what she did was she actually took a lot of the people involved in the music making process, the people who were involved in hiring the orchestra, and just a bunch of her colleagues, took their names and reversed them and used those as the lyrics to one of the greatest film soundtracks of all time. So that's the lyrics of Mask of the Phantasm. The proof being one of the audio directors is a man by the name of Tom Milano, whose backwards name you will recognize in the O Nalimat section of the... that's Tom Milano backwards. And so this whole idea, it was really interesting that an idea that had occurred to me was very similar to an idea that occurred to another Batman composer like 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Nice.
So I was really surprised to figure that out. And what was funny was that when asked what language it was in by Warner Brothers, because they didn't want the lyrics to be something along the lines of, screw Warner Brothers, we hate all of you. Because, they could easily, without knowing what was going on, pass that and then end up making themselves look like dumbasses. But what she said, her excuse was that it was a nonsensical... it was a completely nonsensical language only seen in really old music textbooks that was, used for choir. That was her excuse. Well, the thing is that she didn't tell anybody what was going on. She left them all to their own devices to figure it out. And Tom Milano figured out about halfway through recording. He's just like, "Did you do what I think you just did?" As he picked up on the fact. And apparently the choir had one hell of a time trying to sing all these gibberish words, because they were actually all, like, written in. Unlike me improvising all of that stuff, because I was just using random syllables that sounded right. Occasionally I'd use, like, the actual syllables from the Mask of the Phantasm where I remembered them, but for the most part it was just, gibberish. And it's just like they picked up on this, and it was all, like, written in that way. Like, she actually took everyone's names, reversed them, and wrote them in. And it's like that through the whole movie.
That's awesome. So through the soundtrack of our movie, it should just be a repetitive cycle of Nilad Nash Raboto Tnenev Hetinect. Wait, I went Kenneth before Edwards. But, you get the idea. That was pretty good off the top of my head.
Yeah. Well, actually, I was...
By the way, I'm Kenneth Edwards.
I'm Vincent Ottobre.
I'm Sean Dillon.
Just so you guys know.
Have we remembered to do that any of, like, the past 6 episodes?
No.
Okay. But actually, it's funny you bring that up, because I was experimenting with Raisha's theme in the same vein. Yeah, hold on. Muris no dava, muris no dava, muris no dava.
Wait, what is that? That's Ra's al Ghul?
That's the Abaddon serum.
Oh, okay.
It's Abaddon serum backwards. I don't know if I'll use that, but
it works though. It sounds very rhythmic. I like it.
But that's part of Raisha's theme from the show. He's really got 2 themes, and then there's Talia's theme, which is sort of I guess in the Demon's Quest, Talia's theme and Batman's theme. I think it's a Talia and Batman theme. I'm not 100% sure, but. Or it might just be the theme for that particular episode, in the same way that Over the Edge had its own soundtrack. And they went really... Because, I mean, a lot of the times, villains had their themes. Joker's got the light, bouncy... do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And the Scarecrow's got... do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. But they sort of... certain episodes just had their own soundtracks that was just music that was written for that episode and only appeared in that episode. Like, for example, the theme to the Laughing Fish, which I can't remember, or the one to Over the Edge, which is dun 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 dun. Yeah, it's sort of that thing, and it's just a recurring motif throughout the entire episode. But so I'm thinking that Talia's theme might actually just be that for the Demon's Quest, because you don't really see it when Talia shows up later. But that's what I'm going to end up using for Talia's theme, is that whole do 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 do. And that's oh man, that's going to be ear jarring to the listeners. but
that wasn't bad. I think your voice is prettier than I thought it would be.
Well, thank you.
If that's a compliment. If that's not a compliment, then disregard it.
Okay. I'll disregard everything but the compliment. I'll pretend you said nothing but that.
I didn't.
Okay. But yeah, but that was just a neat little soundtrack twerk that I'm thinking of perhaps even incorporating into the trailer theme before we get that done next week.
Yeah.
If I can, because especially with that, even with a couple of parts with a synthetic choir behind it, would still sound pretty good.
Or some light, just some light orchestration, like strings behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
well, because see, the thing is, a lot of times when in both the Mask of the Phantasm score and the music that I've written for this thus far, when you hear the choir really takes charge. It's filling the whole room. Mm-hmm. And so I'm thinking that, like, a couple of actually sung parts, because, like, it still sounds, with the demonstration we did earlier, that, like, there's only 4 or 5 people singing. Mm-hmm. But, like, that with a synthetic choir behind it, the sung choir would sort of mask the synthesis with the other choir. And I might experiment with that later, just putting some synthesized choir behind what's there now in the demonstration, and see if that does anything.
While I'm thinking about it, because I couldn't believe you've never heard this, I just want you to hear what it reminded me of. This is the Temple of Time music from Ocarina of Time and Zelda. It's not exactly similar, but this is all I could think about. And it's like my only, like, real exposure to, like, fucking, like, whatever you call that type of singing.
I guess, like, operatic singing.
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah, I can see the similarity there.
This is a 10-hour video on YouTube of nothing but this. Which is cool, because people are obviously using it for what I did once, which was just, like, at one time when I was little, I would just, like, go to the Temple of Time, press pause, so this music would just play, and I would go to sleep to it. In fact, I'm going to take a nap right now. Okay.
And this is the portion of Project Batman where Ken takes a nap. There's usually 3 to 5 hour segments, so just stick tight. And
we'll just play this Temple of Time music till then. We'll be halfway through the video. While I'm thinking about it, because we shouted out when fucking Michael and Sarah died, Henry Pollock.
Yeah, his voice of the Scarecrow.
In the first season only.
In the first season only?
Yeah.
But still, I mean, you're talking two of the craziest episodes of that show ever. I mean, you've got the man behind Heart of Ice and the man behind what was that? Show No Fear. Mm-hmm. was the first one with the Scarecrow.
I believe so.
Show No Fear, Have No Fear, something like that.
It's Nothing to Fear.
Nothing to Fear, yeah. But that was the if I remember correctly, Nothing to Fear was the first episode in the Batman animated series where Shirley Walker's Batman theme burst through. And it's like there's a lot of it mixing with the theme from the 1989 Batman movie with Tim Burton that it seemed because they sort of had Shirley Walker piggybacking off of that until that would be segued into just the main Batman theme, and then you've got the animated series opening was the Tim Burton Batman movie theme, just sort of redone for the show.
Danny Elfman. I watched some Batman. Well, since we've last recorded,
mm-hmm.
I watched Beware of Grey Ghost.
Oh, great one.
That's a good episode.
Very good. And the other one you told me to watch, where Lieutenant Gordon gets shot.
Oh, what the hell was that one?
Is it called Out of Time? No.
What the hell was that? Because I just watched that like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. I watched it because you told me to.
That's coming along really well.
It's coming. It's taking a while, but it's coming.
That's great how I figured out how to Photoshop those Photoshop drawings into pencil sketches.
Yeah, saves so much time.
We're gonna cheat for a couple of shots of the trailer because they're actually shots out of the record time sequence. But what I'm doing is I'm just photoshopping them to look like pencil sketches.
That's cool.
And it actually works really well. I mean, for the purposes of what we're doing with it, it'll be pretty seamless. I don't think anyone will
I don't think they
have their
care
issue.
either way.
But it's either that or I try to draw them. And, yeah, no. I did draw a couple of things.
I am the knight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
How the fuck did we forget that?
I knew it was something we shouldn't have forgotten.
Yeah.
That's why I had to look it up.
But, yeah, it's just like... In the episode I Am the Knight, basically, Lieutenant Gordon gets shot during a shootout because Batman was late to a police stakeout because he was dropping flowers off where his parents died in Crime Alley. Batman, blaming it all on himself, has sort of a crisis and debates whether or not he should even continue being Batman, and it really is Batman at one of his weakest moments, and it's very similar to Batman's crisis in our movie, but at that point, at the point in our movie, Batman's in a much more dire circumstance and actually does decide, at least momentarily, to give it up. But then we have the whole Joker scene, and that sort of throws him around, which I think that the scene still needs a lot of rework. But
sorry, I didn't even mean to and interrupt you. I was just thinking.
No, that's okay. I was done.
Okay. What was there anything else you wanted to bring up in particular?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Okay. So, what I have done since we spoke, I've not written any more of the script, but what I have done is I took the chronology of what we were doing, and I separated it by scene. Now, we were doing note cards, and so we could put, but or therefore in between each one and know that it's working. But I mean, it got to be so much information on each note card, and we just didn't really keep up with it. And I think as long as we can write as much as we want and get as much detail as whatever we want, now that I have the scenes separated in this file, we can easily put but and therefore in between them. And I mean, it's not spread out on the floor, it's not complicated, we can just look at it right here. So I've taken all of our credits, broken them down into scenes, or not all of our credits, all of our notes, and broken them down into scenes, and we're going to go through it and put but and therefore in between each one, and it's going to be we're going to have our whole story laid out. Also, what I did is this the thing you wrote out that was the climax. I took your new climax that you wrote and all of our old notes from the climax, read them side by side, and reworded the whole thing. So there's no extraneous notes on our climax. This is it from here down. That's laid out beat for beat perfectly.
Shit.
Yeah.
That's like 3 or 4 pages all by itself. I mean, that's... Hell, it's to the point. I mean, it looks like this will take as long to read as the running time of the film so far.
Right. Well, I'm not. We're not going to read all of that, but I mean, we basically read it a few episodes ago. It's just got a few more details here and there that we'll see when we get the final thing written out.
And this will help for one of the later Snowflake method steps too, because I think one of the later Snowflake method steps is break it up by scene.
Okay, so I was getting way too ahead of myself and excited about this fucking Kevin Smith inspiration last time we talked, and thinking I could write the whole script in time. And since then, I think right when we recorded that, I had started working 2 jobs at the same time. And since then, it's been nonstop 70 to 80 hours a week for those 2 weeks. So I haven't had a chance to write, but I did get a chance to rework these notes and make it really readable. Now, if we still want to have something to celebrate for the 6-month episode that is not having a completed script, what I think would be a perfectly logical and fair thing to celebrate, and something we can get totally done by then, is we started it with just a concept. By the end of the year, we want to have a finished script. Halfway in between, what is there? A finished story. A finished, completed structure. So I think if by 6 months in, we can have every scene detailed with the notes that we want to make sure are in there, and the beats we want to hit, and just whatever information we want to make sure we get out, and be able to put but and therefore between each scene and have it work out, then we've reached an insane goal. I mean, that's a fucking... That's like what people sell movies on before their script's ever written. And if we as amateur filmmakers are getting that done within 6 months and we're happy with it, and other people are happy with it, which, I mean, you were talking to a voice actor who didn't quite work out, who read some of our script and said it sounded pretty fucking good. And other people...
Despite initial hesitation, thinking that it might not be quite as good.
Yeah. And other people who I've shown scenes to and talked about too. I mean, everybody seems pretty thrilled and down with what we're doing. So, besides the climax and besides the first act, do you want to try and connect the dots here and now?
Yeah, I think we got to start in somewhere in Act 2. Yeah, because I think we've pretty much got Act 1 put together for the most part. I think there'll be some extended dialogue, but that's about it.
Yeah. Alright. So Act 1, we read it last time, and it ended with the scene in the Batcave where Batman tests the bat armor, and then he collapses, and he finds out about Paris, and then he decides not to leave in that very moment. Okay, so Batcave, he decides to stay. What that scene amounts to is something bad happens, and Bruce makes the decision to stay and try to gain as much info as he can before moving on. But next scene, Raish's Fortress, is basically the scene where Raish is like, make more. But Raish says they're making more. The scene after that,
the scene after that is right where he's I think it goes into him talking about the Beyond suit, something designing that.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. Where do we want to have that main conversation? Do we want them to have that at breakfast before they see the attacks happening? Because I mean, it's like the next morning. Bruce had a failed suit happening. He's realized that he's not as all that as he used to be physically, and both him and Alfred have decided or know that he needs a new suit if they're gonna conquer what they saw happen in Paris, or whoever was behind that. So before we see more of the destruction, I guess they should have some calm time to talk about that.
Yeah, I think it's between at the beginning of the breakfast scene is where they have the whole spiel about the Batsuit.
Or is it more, or do seeing more attacks make it more dire and intense and more need for discussion about it? I don't know. I think that's just me being non-committed.
I don't know. Maybe if we start the scene with, because how I'm thinking the scene opens is that Alfred comes down with breakfast and Bruce is already there, and Alfred's just like, I thought I told you to get some sleep, and I was like, I did. I got like an hour and a half of sleep, and but he had been up all night watching newscasts and designing the suit.
Like he has like sketches of like blueprints and stuff.
Yeah, well, he's doing them on the computer. Yeah.
Okay.
But he's got by overnight he's got a general idea of what he wants, and then he explains what was wrong with the previous suit, why it's and why this one's better.
Okay. And I think the connector between the scene of Breakfast with Batman is really a reaction to the scene before Ra's says make more. Mm-hmm. Because we're moving in two separate timelines, or two separate stories there. So sort of Breakfast with Batman is sort of a therefore after the Batcave scene where he finds out about Paris. So I'm going to put a therefore here. So basically, Breakfast with Batman, they see a bunch of cities get hit. They talk about the Batsuit. And then we have to figure out exactly how Talia is getting in the picture. Now, if you would do me the favor of, to yourself, reading the notes here and figuring out what to save and what to get rid of, because we're going to go from their discussion before Talia arrives and deciding what to do to the mountain meeting. Mm-hmm. And in between there, we have to get them a plan and get Talia in the story.
What if he meets her at the mountain meeting? Because I think we discussed it, because we've been fighting over this for God knows how many episodes now. But I believe we ended up talking about it, that the way we preferred it was that Talia doesn't show up in the Batcave, but Batman actually leaves and
finds her at a Lazarus pit,
or finds her somewhere else, notes that she's there and it's very suspicious, then that's bad.
Mm-hmm.
But
what if he is at the mountain meeting and he I don't know, what if he I was gonna say what if he sees her spying to see what's going on or something, and then he can run into her and that could give him a notion that she or her dad might be in on it, so he goes to find a Lazarus pit, and that's when he sees her there, and that's when they have a confrontation. Now that sounds like a good idea until you put in the logic where how is she spying on this super secret UN guarded secret base?
It would also be very difficult considering that Superman is there and he has the X-ray vision and all that shit.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, maybe she could hide behind the lead wall, but then what the hell is she gonna see?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But, Sean, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I definitely agree with you guys. I definitely want him running into her somewhere that instead of just her showing up at the Batcave, because that would be kind of odd and not very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different angles you could play it. If she showed up at the Batcave, there could be that's a callback to her showing up at the Batcave in both the animated series and beyond. But she could argue that she's there to try and help, and he's I don't trust you because you showed up here. What if you're spying on me? But I don't know.
I just like the idea of him being able to use some of his detective skills before she shows up.
Yeah, I like that. And I like the idea of us seeing her before we talk to her, so we can be suspicious of her
exactly.
with Batman.
Yeah, I thought of something. Shortly after the breakfast scene, they talk about the Batsuit, then they see the news footage. Then Batman decides, I have to go figure out what's going on.
You start making this, Alfred.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, there's this, and he's just Alfred's just you're not going to be able to fight in your present condition. You're going to need this suit. And he's just
I'm going spelunking. Cut to him in a cave with a Lazarus pit.
But no, Batman says, no, solution's simple. Batman's not going. Bruce Wayne is. It would be, I guess, fairly reasonable for Bruce Wayne to show up at this thing, considering that,
How would he know about it unless he's contributing to host?
Well, I mean, he probably knows from the Justice League that's a place where people go when shit goes down. Listener, do you have any suggestions?
Okay, so I think I've got the whole flow of this. I want to see if okay, so there's the breakfast, talking about the Batsuit, then the whole news footage and everything's going on. Then Batman... Would the Justice League perhaps contact him?
We had that idea early on of the Justice League contacting him and him being like, no, I don't know anything about it, to try to keep them out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But if Superman's going to be at the mountain place, then that idea is kind of bunk.
Okay. So, because they're not just going to announce a secret meeting.
Right.
But,
he's Bruce Wayne, though. All he's got to do is make a couple calls.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, they're not going to announce a secret meeting. So how does he find out about it?
I don't think he needs to find out about it. I think he just knows that if there's a fucking national attack and anybody's under, like he just saw so many more cities get, like, Abaddon on the news. Like, he knows that, like, that's the hidden spot. Like, that's the place where the leaders go to discuss shit when things go bad. He has to know that. Like, I think that's totally... I don't think we need to explain how he knows about the meeting at all, or that a meeting is being set up. Like, mm-hmm. I think the world assumes that the world leaders would try to coordinate something if something like that went down.
Mm-hmm. But he would have to at least say where he's going.
Yeah. That's why we had Talia enter before the meeting, so he could explain that to somebody originally.
Yeah, I remember that.
I mean, if we could have her come after that, though, we could straight up cut from the Batcave and him talking to Alfred, and Alfred being like, where are you going to go? And he'll be like, I'll start by finding out as much information as I can. Cut to the fucking him getting out of a Batwing and climbing into a mountain, you know? I mean, they'll assume people can fill in the blanks mm-hmm. when he's there and see that important shit's going on. Like, oh, he must have known about this. I think sometimes we worry, like all three of us collectively worry about explaining more than we need to.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're right.
Well, yeah, at the same time, yeah, you're right, but at the same time, the issue is that I've seen so many movies, especially just Batman movies, picked apart by shit that isn't explained.
There's a great article by someone who we started out this whole venture with, by Film Crit Hulk. Look him up if you haven't heard about him. He writes for BadassDigest.com. But the article is about movie logic, and it's about how you can take all the greatest movies in the world and look at them through a certain veil and, you know, pick apart the logic, but that doesn't stop them mm-hmm. from being great. I mean, that's why Family Guy could make those Star Wars ripoffs, you know, like, because those are great iconic movies, and that's why they got to do 3 of them, but they made fun of all the plot holes the entire time. The point is, as long as you're interested in the characters, that's what your mind and emotions automatically should be focusing on. If you are focusing on anything else and trying to call out something as bunk, as long as it isn't crazy obvious, like
Eagles.
Yeah.
They're fun bird things.
Yeah, like birds at the end of the Lord of the Rings movies, every Lord of the Rings movie, then I think you're okay. I was listening to a interview with Harmony Korine, who, writer-director Harmony Korine, his movie this year was Spring Breakers, and the way he sets up stories is very unique. When you watch a Harmony Korine script play out, once you know who he is, you can tell it's his. And I listened to an interview on writing with him, and he was saying how he never, ever, ever thinks about plot. He was like, think about what the word plot means. Think about if the government was talking about a plot, whether it was somebody talking about a plot within our government or we heard about a plot outside of our country. A plot means somebody putting something together to basically fool others to get what they want out of something. He's like, it just sounds engineered. I like to focus on story. And if you look at like Spring Breakers, there really is no plot.
Yeah.
But there's a great story. You follow all of those characters and you get where they're coming from in every scene. And that was like a light bulb to me when he said that. Mm-hmm. Definitely there needs to be... I'm not saying there shouldn't be a plot. I mean, this is a global stakes story. but I'm saying if the emotions are strong enough and we care enough about... If we believe basically that Batman's going to go to this meeting to figure some shit out, mm-hmm. then we should be able to accept it. But I see your point. We don't want giant eagles carrying Batman to Lazarus pits. Mm-hmm. or mountain meetings.
I don't know. Let's write that in.
Okay.
That's a great cop out. I'm glad we're the first to think of that.
All right. So, all that to say, we just need to be with Batman's emotions to get him there. Mm-hmm. The question is still, emotionally, where does it hit us most with Talia? Does it impact Talia and Bruce's relationship, the fact that they started out this journey together, or should he find... Yeah. I agree with you, Sean. He should do some detective work, and like it should seem like Batman's on his own against the world for at least a few minutes, mm-hmm. and then like
I'm thinking that Talia is just not present at the mountain meeting, or if she is, she's really slyly in there.
Yeah. So Batcave discussion about Suit. Batman's like, I'm gonna go. Alfred's like, where are you going? Batman's like, to get some answers. Cut to inner mountain meeting, have mountain meeting scene. Then maybe Batman's in the Batwing talking to Alfred, and he's like, well, what are you going to do? And he's like, I'm going to try to find shit out. And they talk about the suit maybe a little bit. And then maybe that can be when they bring up Raish, and he could be like, I'll check some Lazarus pits. Might as well start somewhere. Mm-hmm. I'll go to where I know ones are. And maybe then he could run into Talia at a Lazarus pit or a city. We're thinking about this a lot from Bruce's angle. Let's think of it from Talia's angle. Based on where we last saw her and based on what's going on and how soon we don't want her in the movie, put yourself in her shoes. Where would she be after multiple city attacks? From what she probably assumes is her dad.
My guess is that she would be trying to find information the same as Bruce is. Now, going to the Lazarus pit, she could try to find her father, but that might not be the most direct link to stopping the attacks. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, for all she knows, he could just kill her. Mm-hmm. So my guess is that she would want to go to this mountain meeting. And maybe she sees Bruce there, and maybe Bruce sees her as like they're filing out of the meeting or whatever, and maybe that's where the two of them meet.
I mean, I could see Bruce knowing about it, but I don't... How would she know about it?
Well, she has the Society of Shadows, so she's got...
But
she
has
doesn't.
the Society of Shadows.
Huh?
Raish has the Society
Yeah,
of
no,
Shadows.
she doesn't. She doesn't have it yet.
She's probably, like, kicked out of the club.
Yeah.
Like, they probably have orders to kill her.
They do.
Which could be... What if he's, like, suspicious of her, and he sees her somewhere, and he's like, I'm gonna follow her. And then, like, he's like... I don't know, he, like, sees some Society of Shadows member somewhere, and then, like, she runs into them, and then, like, he has to save her from the Society of Shadows. Like, he's suspicious of her until the enemy attacks her. And then he's like, wait, why is she against them?
Yeah, I don't like that because I like how we have them building up their trust over the course of the movie. As opposed to just having that. Okay, so I'm trying to think.
Well, he could not trust her even if he saves her. He's not going to let her die because he's Batman and that's what he does.
Yeah, but I think that sort of diminishes the whole, building on the trust thing. I don't know.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. I'm just throwing ideas out.
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out. Enter Talia at... Okay, so say she wouldn't know about the mountain meeting, but she knows Batman. She wants to find out about this as much as
she assumes he does.
Right. So she's spying on Batman in order to get the same information that he is.
What if he leaves the mountain meeting, is talking to Alfred in the Batwing on the way to somewhere, and he hears like a noise on the Batwing, and he is like, what the fuck? And he just like goes and finds her hiding in the Batwing.
Well, the thing is that if he's going as Bruce Wayne, he's not going to be taking the Batwing.
That's so true.
He's going to be taking the Wayne Enterprises jet. It'd be sort of really bad for Bruce Wayne to show up in the Bat. Hey, Bruce, are you Batman? What? No. This? What? No. Why? What? No. That? No. It's a Lamborghini. Lamborghini makes cars, but it's an airplane. Yeah, cars aren't airplanes.
I got Lamborghini to make me one. I'm not rich. What if...
What does she go on to do at the end of the movie? Like, once Raish has done the whole, like, transfer thing, what does she end up doing?
Raish and Talia ends up actually using the money from the Society of Shadows and using the whole Society of Shadows to actually clean up the mess.
Now, was she into that kind of shit before, or just not until the end? Like, as a character?
She didn't have the resources to.
Yeah, but would she have been, like, has that always been something she was always interested in, or?
I think that's only Raish trying to just save their ass.
Yeah.
But, yeah, because Talia has the same goals as her father, but doesn't want to use the same means to achieve that end. She says this herself multiple times.
Right.
So, I mean, I would think the first place she would go is probably Paris if she had any suspicion. She'd be trying to find something, too.
I mean, yeah, perhaps they run into each other in the ruins of Paris.
That would be fucking kind of beautiful. Like he's on one end looking at an abandoned city with nobody to like say this is horrible to, and she's on the other end, and they sort of like meet in the middle, and I imagine like this wide shot of her facing this way and him facing this way, and just a whole bunch of destruction surrounding them. And that like then he looks up and it's like fucking her, and he's like, what are you doing here? And then that's when like they have that confrontation / discussion. And then maybe they're distracted by the dog, and they're like, well, the dog's there, and then they discover the family, and then suddenly they're in the game together, even though he doesn't trust her yet. And then when he gets the sample from the dog, and he's like, well, I'm out of here. And she's like, take me with you. And he's like, why would I take you with me? She's like, well, we're looking for my father. I know where all the Lazarus bits are. You know where like 2 are. And he's like, fucking fine.
I like it.
Yeah, that would totally work for me.
Yeah, they should totally meet in Paris after Bruce is at the mountain.
The city of love. Of course.
And
love is destroyed.
I know, it hit us at the same time. It was just like, yeah, and the whole fucking place is all a shambles. Everyone's dead.
That's awesome.
Okay, so they meet in Paris.
Awesome. And
they meet in what's left of Paris.
For what's left of their relationship.
That is awesome symbolism.
Yeah, I really like that a lot. I knew if we just talked enough, it would come. And that keeps her out of the whole movie, which I like.
Yeah.
I imagine maybe Bruce finds that camcorder in the fucking park, like we talked about, and he's just like seeing the video of and he watches what actually happens, and like fucking kids disappear, and then he looks up and sees her. He's just like, that's horrible, and then show him lowering it. There she is.
He's just like, oh, that fucking sucks. Damn. Oh, that's some fucked up fucking shit. Oh shit, hey Talia. The hell are you doing here?
Yeah.
Something suspicious, I'm sure.
Cool.
Awesome.
Alright, so as far as I'm concerned, that was our biggest problem with the movie. As far as figuring something out.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to... I can tell you're getting tired.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to stop there and I'll see how many holes we can fill in by myself for the next few days, and then we can get together, see that all of our buts and therefores are lined up.
Mm-hmm. I think we should do one more episode before the 28th if we can.
No, I agree. We'll do it. The 28th is
Wednesday.
Is
next week. Okay,
so it's 8 days away. That means we should record the 6-month episode by next Tuesday. Let's try and get together Thursday or Friday night.
Cool.
What about you? What's your schedule?
Thursday I'm 11 to 3 in the morning, so that's good, and I'm off Friday. So
I'd prefer Thursday if we can do that.
Thursday night?
Yeah, because I think I got plans Friday night.
Okay.
Cool. So I'll meet up back here Thursday.
We will finish this on Thursday.
Awesome.
Dude, that Talia thing makes me so happy.
That's pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
Who was it that brought that up?
I think we all sort of logicked it out. I mean, he suggested not having her in the early part of the movie. Mm-hmm. You were debating how she would be at the mountain meeting, and I just sort of talked until I figured out a lot how those two things would interconnect with our story, and her actually eventually being there.
Something that I'll try and think on is, I still want there to, at least, even if it's not really explained, for there to be a logical reason for Bruce Wayne to be at, like a Bruce Wayne, not Batman, but Bruce Wayne himself, to be at the mountain meeting.
No, I agree. That's too big for them to, not... Even if it's just, a joke line, as long as we're self-aware of the fact that there has to be a reason that he's there. Even if his line is just I'm rich, I'm Bruce Wayne. That won't be it, but,
But
as long as we make note of the idea that, he's here for some reason. He knows about this somehow.
There's a couple of people, a couple of billionaires other than himself that are trying to put together some sort of relief effort.
Lex Luthor's there.
Lex Luthor's dead.
Oh, okay.
He was absorbed into the source wall, sacrificing himself to destroy Darkseid.
Okay.
Yeah, he's doomed.
So Tony Stark's there.
Who's another billionaire? What's his name? He's that guy that dresses in rags. and lives in a box.
What?
That's what billionaires do, right?
I was gonna say.
Yeah, that's it.
Willy Wonka's a billionaire, isn't he?
Probably.
Willy Wonka. But
Wait. God damn it, why can't I remember it? I was gonna go Willy Wonka, blankety blank, Walter White. What is it? Oh, Woodrow Wilson. You got me. And now, for these next 6 episodes, at the end of every episode, you get our mini Breaking Bad discussion.
Oh yeah, I don't think we can do a mini Breaking Bad discussion. It's Breaking Bad.
Well, just so you know, spoiler alert on Breaking Bad. How about the end of that first episode when we came back?
Oh my god,
Man.
Was that like not the greatest scene on TV ever? Like, they put it all on Front Street, man. They're like, we're not fucking around anymore.
Yeah, that's what I was like. I thought, okay, yeah, how are they gonna lengthen this out to 8 episodes? Oh no, they're not. They're just gonna be like, oh shit.
I really thought, like, when Walt walked into that garage, I thought he was gonna know Hank knew, but he was going to still try to continue it, like, be out of it. Like, I didn't think Hank was ready to, like, say it was you, fucker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But, like, it's nuts how, like, Walt is at an advantage right now because it's so personal to Hank. Like, if Hank just took what he knew to his fucking job, he would, I mean, it would be over. It would be done.
Well, the problem is that he doesn't have any 100% hard evidence. He doesn't have anything actually linking Walter White, the human being, to Heisenberg.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing. That's what, I mean, did you see last night's episode? Yeah, that's what Skylar was talking about. It's just like, Skylar's like, Hank doesn't have anything.
Right.
We can get through this.
Right. But I think, I don't know.
It's feasible, but remember what he said. The second he takes that in, his career's done. So he wants to make sure that there is absolutely zero room for non-clarity.
Yeah. But also, I think, like, at this point, to Hank, it's not, just seeing Walt get arrested is not going to be good enough. Like, he wants to get him. Like, he wants, I don't even know what that means. Like, but just him being in court and in jail is not going to be good enough for Hank.
No, not at all.
How nuts is it that fucking, he told Marie immediately? Like, I thought he was, I don't know why, but I was for sure Marie was, like, going to be in the dark. Mm-hmm. Like, I thought he was going to bottle this up and it would affect their relationship too. But it's cool now because not only is it just, like, Walt versus Hank, but it's the Schraders versus the Whites right now. Mm-hmm. And do you know what next week's episode is called?
What's that?
Confessions. And there's the released image is Walt and Skylar sitting at a table at a Mexican restaurant across from 2 empty seats. Now those 2 empty seats have to be Marie and Hank.
Oh man.
They're in a public place. They're gonna talk that shit out. What is gonna happen?
Oh my god.
Also, nobody is talking about the fact that the show is not only about Walt breaking bad. It is totally about Jesse breaking good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially the last couple episodes. I think that, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think Jesse might just straight up fucking turn him in.
Yeah, I mean, I think he has to play. He hates Walt. He hates Walt now. Like, he has to play a part in that. Like, I think him throwing that money around was not only him feeling guilty and just wanting to get rid of the money, but just his way of, like, trying to bring on the end of all of this.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think? I mean, this is a question Chris Hardwick asked, but I think it's a great question. What do you think would be the worst thing for Jesse to find out? Worst for Walt? About Jane's death? Walt's role in Jane's death? Walt poisoning the kid? Or Walt killing Mike?
I'm gonna go with Mike on that one.
I'd say Jane. But the... I'd say he's going to find out all three of those things.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to believe... I really want to believe that. I think it would be so unfair for Jesse to not find out about all three of those things. But I don't know how they could ever do that. A, his role in Jane's death, the only other people who knew about it were Gus, Saul, and
Mike.
Mike's dead. And
wait, Saul knew? No, I think Mike might have told Saul.
Yeah.
Okay, so that... And, yeah, Mike knew, and then I guess he told Gus and Saul.
Yeah. Now, Saul is more of a wild card to me at this point than anything. Like, I think Saul is the only person on the show, on the history of the show, who is upfront about who he is.
Yeah.
He, being who he is, and with as much information as he has, and the position he has, if something were to flip, he could totally tell everything and get away with it. He could be what reveals everything, but I don't think it'll be that simple.
Mm-mm. Yeah, my guess is that Jesse will find out about what Walt did in a confrontation between him and Walt. Walt will straight up fucking tell him.
You think so?
I thought maybe Hank would tell him right now at that... I just got him there in the lockup. Trying to get some...
Maybe, but I don't think Hank has linked any of
that stuff yet.
I don't think Walt could really get in legal trouble over Jane. Like, it was inaction.
That would technically be negligent manslaughter were he to be charged.
Right, but literally nobody knows what happened in the room other than Walt at this point.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, there's not enough evidence to charge him with anything. Like, he could not be charged with Jane's murder by the sheer lack of evidence that he did it. But that could be, like, were there somebody, like a law enforcement officer there watching the whole thing, then Walt, along with the LEO, would be charged for negligent manslaughter. But what I'm thinking is the reason Walt hasn't told Jesse any of this is because he's still trying to keep Jesse manipulated.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's still trying to keep Jesse on his side. Yeah. And there's going to be a point when he realizes that doesn't work. And then he's going to have to, have a weapon against Jesse. And Jesse's kind of mentally off his rocker then. So I think if he tells him those things, that's enough to snap. Jesse will snap at him, but he won't be thinking clearly.
If there's going to be any sort of redemption to this story whatsoever, then Walt has to realize somehow that Jesse was with Walt this entire time because he cared about him, and not because of the money or what they were doing. Like, Jesse wouldn't have done a tenth of the things he did if he weren't just seeking approval from this guy. Mm-hmm. And it's like Walt saying to Jesse at his house, like, I need you to believe me. That's like him saying, like if you don't believe me, I'm going to kill you. I mean, he'll kill anybody else who's a threat.
Yeah. He threatened to kill Saul right there in his goddamn office.
Yeah. Oh. And fucking Hank, basically, in his garage.
Tread lightly. Now, see, he didn't mean that threat, though, because when Saul brought it up,
he said he would kill him because he's family.
But I think that there's going to be a point where Walt is forced to not do that. Like, my guess is that the only major characters who are going to survive this conflict are perhaps like Walt will survive until the end.
Walt has to die.
Walt will die more likely than not. My guess, and I'm going to call it here on record, my guess is that Walt uses the machine gun perhaps as a last-ditch weapon, as an assault on the DEA or something like that. And then he went into his house, he took the ricin. So my guess is that he's gonna it's gonna be like a cyanide pill. He's got the little glass thing of ricin, and the second he goes in, he's gonna bite down on that ricin.
Right.
But my guess is that Walt is going to. I mean, an M60 machine gun is not something you fuck around with. I mean, that's something that when you pick one of those up, you mean business.
Yeah, he's after somebody.
Yeah, he's
and it can't just be like Hank. Like, plus he's
it's got to be a multitude of people.
Yeah, plus he's freely walking around that city. Like, Carol, I don't know. Like, wouldn't she call the police?
Oh, I'm sure she would.
Yeah.
I'm sure she went right back inside and called them. But I'm sure that Walt is... The fact that Walt is so openly walking into his house... I mean, he straight up just, like, busted open the gate and walked in. He doesn't care if anybody sees him.
Yeah.
Because he knows he's done.
What do you think happened to that house? Because that is more than straight up, like, a police line. Like,
yeah.
Like, but there's no bullet holes in any walls. Mm-hmm. The only difference is they've moved out the furniture and they pulled up the kitchen. Which... Is that where he was hiding the money underneath the house? Or that was in the closet in the hall?
That was underneath the water heater, because remember we got
Yeah, that's right.
But, yeah, my guess is to what happened to the house. Yeah, not seeing any bullet holes. I don't know if it was a...
Maybe Skylar moved out and he was cooking in there?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't think his family's going to survive.
Dude, if his family dies, how is it worth it? How is anything worth it? Oh my god. If that little girl, or Walt Jr., oh my god, you're making me sad.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is that I honestly don't think that he's going to get anything out of this. I honestly think that, he thought he was doing the right thing, and it ended up ballooning out too far, and it ended up dooming everything. I mean,
he tried, he did so much bad that he tried to reverse it, but it was too late, and all the other moving parts, like the people who killed the people in last night's episode, like Todd, and
maybe that's... Well, see, I don't think Todd is garnering anything against Heisenberg. I don't think Todd has any real reason for enmity with him.
But Todd knows how to cook, and anybody who is in the business after Walt gets out would totally be down with employing Todd, and why wouldn't Todd seek it out if he's in that world?
But, okay, so that's a good point there. But yeah, going back to what I was saying, honestly, I don't think anybody's going to survive. Except for at the end of it, I think the only two major characters that are going to be alive are Walt and Saul. Saul is slippery enough that he's going to get out of whatever situation is going to happen. I think that if nothing else, he's going to pick up and leave.
Yeah.
But he said he was going to do that in season 3, and he just couldn't.
But this is a lot bigger. You're talking a multinational... you're talking now a crime that has caused deaths in at least 3 separate nations.
Yeah.
And so you've got an international crime syndicate that's formed by one fucking guy.
Also, they said the spinoff they're working on is a prequel show.
Interesting.
Huh.
So that Which might be bullshit. They might just be saying that to throw us off.
That's true.
Yeah, it could be a red herring.
My guess, and like I'm not saying you're wrong because who the fuck knows.
Yes.
The one person that has to live through this to me is Jesse.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know how. I don't know how Walt would ever redeem himself, but to get any sort of redemption to me out of this story, Jesse has to fucking kill Walt. Or something. I don't know. Like, he is just too good. He represents the good of the show, the hope, getting better, conquering evil. Like, if Walt's the bad guy and he's the good guy, there has to be something in that. I just don't know how they could ever be okay.
Well, yeah. The reason I bring it up is that I think because I honestly end up this story is going to be a tragedy. There's not going to be a happy ending. There's not going to be a good resolution to this. Honestly, I think that Walt, having poisoned everything in his life, eventually brings it down with him. You know, he built a house of straw, and he taunted the wolf.
And if we think back to, and this hit me as soon as he said it, if we think back to season 5A, when he's watching Scarface with his kids, one of the things he says is, everyone dies in this movie. And he says it joyfully. If that's not some fucking foreshadowing of something. I mean, the pitch for the show was, we're going to take
Mr. Chips, turn him into Scarface.
Which, before the finale, I'm totally going to watch Goodbye Mr. Chips and then Scarface.
That's a good call.
That is a good call.
I mean, all the actors say they're unbelievably, surprisingly thrilled with where every character ended up.
Yeah.
And that makes, like, I can't imagine Anna Gunn saying that if Skylar just ended up dying. Or Dean Norris saying that if Hank just ended up dying. But it might represent this message of, like, don't be a bad guy or else everyone will die. I don't know. That's enough Breaking Bad talk. That's it for Project Breaking Bad. I mean, Batman.
Project Breaking Bad.
But as long as we're doing this for the moment, everyone, tread lightly.
Tread lightly.
Tread lightly.